Good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And through that collaboration, reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers in 2022 and 2021. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. So before we go any further, a few little things. Want to encourage everyone to join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Please email me at dr.vibe at the dr.vibe.show.com. Also, join the Dr. Vibe Show, or subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also to advertise your product and service on this platform like our friend who's coming up today does every Monday. Please email me. There's email address. And just a program alert. Coming up this Monday on the Morning Vibe, David Archer, who's a licensed psychotherapist, will be talking about his new book, Black Mountain Fight for the Future, and mental health in general from a Black male lens. So that's coming up on Monday. And we also got guests coming up for Monday and Friday for the rest of the month. So we are booked solid. So Mr. Knight is here. What's going on, Ryan Knight?
Yeah, things are good. Things are good. Always good to see you. And for those that don't know who Ryan Knight is, I'm one of the co-founders of the Afro Caribbean Business Network. We work with entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage the business is in and then help them create a strategy to grow their companies exponentially. I am an entrepreneur myself. I do run a company called Detailing Nights. So we provide mobile waterless car cleaning. So we go to people's houses, their offices, clean their cars on the spot without using water, and our plant-based eco-friendly cleaning supplies. We have our youth entrepreneurship program in full swing. So that's going to be wrapping up at the end of this month. So congratulations to the participants. But yeah, enjoying the hot weather, but sprinkles of rain.
Not this morning. It's not hot this morning. It is cool and fresh. It's fresh. Well, there's a lot of rain last night. There was a lot. Like I went out, I was out on my veranda around 11:30 last night, and I went to sit on the chairs. I go, what? I mean, it must have been very windy because the chairs were wet. And usually when it rains, not usually, but most of the time it rains straight down. But no, it's blowing in. So people are already saying hello. So I want to say hello to some of the family here. Fitnance IQ Cam, otherwise known as the Queen of EYL in Toronto. She's just all over the place. And she's making, I'll get to that in just a second. And Mr. Marlon Steven, I don't know where you are in the world because every time you're in a different place. So great to see you this morning. Also, we have Gala King, and that's
coming off a heavy weekend of galas. Get you caught up last weekend.
And then Naleen Prasad, who usually comes in. Well, she's here when our friend's here today on Fridays on the third Friday each month, but usually it's through YouTube. But today through LinkedIn, we have Keith Gaskin. Good morning. I haven't seen you, but first time. Great to hear. And Fiona Gobin is here. Man, people coming in through the LinkedIn, man. People coming in through. This is fabulous. So we haven't been on live for about a week. I couldn't make it on Monday because I had something to address. And Tim Frey, what up? Good to see you also, Tim Frey in the house. Number of things I want to catch up. Actually, I'm going to give you a pop question, Ryan. What's your favorite color?
Royal blue.
Okay. I was chatting with someone last night, and they're trying to convince you that white might be my favorite color, but that's a whole other conversation. But what?
But then don't they say that's a shade and not a color? We're talking about the shade white.
No, well, white. Yeah, I guess. Well, no, okay. It's a white. So I'm thinking there could be something going on here that I may make white my favorite color. Earl Anderson is in the house. What is up, Earl Anderson? what any things you want to chat about over the last week or so? Because we haven't chatted a lot. Go ahead.
Yeah, give a quick shout out to the Jamaican Canadian Association.
Yes, you got an award You got an award. Talk about it.
That's a different gala. I'll get to that gala in a sec.
Yes.
So the JCA, they celebrated Jamaica's, I believe, 60th independence or 61st. 61st, yes. So at their banquet hall at Era Road in Toronto, the construction in that area is madness. Just side notes.
You're kidding. Yes.
Getting onto Era Road was blocked from Finch, so you had to go down to Shepherd. So for those that went up, got all messed up. But place was packed, so definitely everybody did make it and got to see some familiar faces. And then had to head over to another gala, the Sankofa Royale Awards, because I was recognized, and thank you to Dr. Irene from the Canadian and African Women's Aid program. So they were doing their first ever Sankofa Royale Awards, and really to highlight those of African heritage in our community that are doing great work. So thank you to Dr. Irene and the team for the honor.
Yeah, I saw the people who received awards. There was, why am I forgetting? Troy. What's his name? Why am I forgetting his name?
Boy, there was 32 awardees, so I don't blame you for forgetting. Yeah,
but no, there was Dwayne Morgan. Did he receive? Did you take a picture with Dwayne Morgan?
No, that was Johnson. His name was Johnson.
Okay, I saw. Well, okay, that must be. I guess the award season is really hot because I saw some pictures.
Right, I did see Dwayne did win an award, but that was from something else. I saw him post a picture about it. Yeah.
Okay.
I have to look and see where that was.
Okay, let's catch up on the family that's here. I think we said Tim Ray, what up? Okay. Fitness IQ goes, that's a good statement. White is a shade. Okay. She also says, see, I'm trying to keep up with Ryan. Yes, you two are like the people that were like on tour last week. You're on tour. And then she also says, good day, Dr. Vibe and Ryan Knight. That's Christopher Lawrence is in the house. And also Fitness IQ says, the road is rocky like the ice cream.
And so our friend Abimbola that came on and said that she was having trouble getting a hold of me, she was having her event on Saturday as well.
Yes.
She was able to stop by Leading Ladies trade show. It was wonderful.
How many thousands of kilometers did you put on your car that evening?
Hey, and something else was happening on Saturday. So Branded TO was having their 10th anniversary on Saturday as well. So Saturday is probably the most jam-packed day that I've experienced in a long time. So shout out.
Did you get down
August
to Brandon?
12th was very special number, I guess.
Did you get to the Branded conference?
So briefly, because it's way downtown. So I was like, people, I'm sorry, but I got to get back up to Brampton. So, but I was part of the steering committee putting it together. So was able to, and ACBN was one of the sponsors. So was definitely able to support it and, pop my head in, say hi, and then had to head up. But shout out to the team there. And so now coming up, and just briefly, on Sunday, Carabana Arts Group is doing their first ever golf tournament in Cambridge. So keep an eye out for that.
So I got a text message about this, about some sort of golf. Okay. And when's that?
Sunday. Sunday the 20th.
Okay. All right. All right.
Oh, and before I forget, there's a Father's Appreciation event, I believe on Sunday as well in the night. I think I sent you a message about that one.
Yeah. I'm not Ryan. I'm not Fitness IQ. I'm not City Pulse. I can't, and I choose not to be everywhere. Yeah. Okay. Easy. Before we get our friend come on, I've got an interesting article I would like to get your feedback on.
Okay.
So and also the family too. This is a very interesting article that I found last night. Let me just put it up here. This is going to get some people good. Well, I'm sure this has caught some conversation for a few seconds. So, okay, so let's bring it up here. Okay. 63 of divorcees say that this is the number one thing that would have saved their marriage, and it's not money.
Okay.
So,
because they say money is like the number one factor, right?
Well, okay, hold on. So there are
So
many
what is
reasons why
this?
people choose to file for divorce. The lack of family support, infidelity, and compatibility are the top three, not money. According to a survey by Forbes Advisor, which polled 1,000 Americans who are divorced or currently getting a divorce, but almost all those surveyed believe that their union could have been saved by one factor or another. In fact, only 5% of the respondents said that they said that they don't think anything could have fixed their partnership. And here are the top 5 factors: a better understanding of the commitment of marriage prior to marrying, a better understanding of the values and morals of their partner prior to marrying, waiting longer to start a family, seeking professional help from a therapist or couples counselor, and waiting longer to be married. And then, so of those surveyed, 63% said a better understanding of marriage prior to could have saved their partnership, and perhaps related. 34% of respondents said that their marriage ended due to infidelity. More than half, 56% of the respondents said a better understanding of values and morals of their partner might have helped them avoid divorce. And then also and 44% said waiting to start a family may have saved their marriage. Children seem to be a pain point for many couples, with 43% of the divorcees saying parenting differences were a large source of conflict for them and their partner, along with division of household labor.
I can see how the division of household labor will mash it up. But one thing that I remember is before my wife and I were able to get married at our church, we had to go through like a marriage course with the pastor. And in that course, we learned more about our values that each of us had. And there was like a little bit of misalignment with some of the questions that we answered. And so knowing that ahead of time, and again, we were dating for about 7 years before we got married. So maybe that's helping with us staying together, because when you jump into it and then you learn on the fly about your partner, it can be a rude awakening, the misalignment of values, because now you're like in deep with this person. So this is resonating very much.
Well, it's interesting. So for those people who know and those who don't know, I do a lot of helping of men and fathers, and especially with a number of fathers, they say how, and well, you always hear it at least from the mothers, how their parenting style is different from their fathers. And like they say, oh, my kid won't come to me because if they want something, they won't come to me. They'll go to my mother, or vice versa. And it seems to be a very common thing in regards to that. But I thought, I just pull it up, this thing. And I think the next time we don't have a guest, I think we should expound on this topic and get some good conversation, because they say statistically, at least 50% of the marriages end in divorce. And it's interesting just seeing the different reasons here in regards to that. So I'd love to get, if you're watching this live or even on the replay, would love to get your comments on that, whether you're married, in a relationship, divorced, about to be divorced, etc. I think it's very interesting, but you didn't say anything about money.
Very true. And that's where when people are planning to get married, it's like, who asked them the key questions beforehand? Typically, there's no real coaching or planning before marriages happen. So I can see where those elements, all of them, lend into pre-planning. It's like not just like the marriage is one aspect, but there's things to be done before the marriage, is what I'm getting from this article. Absolutely. So very interesting.
Yes. So look who's here via LinkedIn.
Hey, good day.
Hey, Lorraine, what's going on? What's going on? Fitness IQ says about this story, very interesting. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I thought we just slide that in there and get your thought process. I just landed that on Ryan. So I knew he'd be good for some commentary in regards to that. So again,
And
next time
I don't want to dig too deep, but our guest has some experience with marriage. Would love to get his thoughts on what could be done before marriages happen, because I know with buying a home, pre-planning is super important. So marriage should be as important, right?
And wonderful Leslie McEwen, premarital counseling is essential, and there she is. Actually, Leslie has been a psychotherapist in the Ottawa area for over 30 years. And actually, Leslie, we have a guest on Monday who's a melanated gentleman named David Archer, who's a licensed psychotherapist. And what's his? He has a specific practice, and I told him about you, and I've given some links of conversations that you've been on this platform. So he may be reaching out to you because he said, "Wow, I need to meet this person." So I'll tell you ahead of time if he's going to be reaching out to you, or I'll do that introduction. So he is a practicer of EMDR. That's it. EMDR. Yes, absolutely. He's an EMDR practitioner. So this is good. And before we get to our friend, he says, I'm glad there's a more in-depth discussion of the reasons. So we will get to that eventually. So we got our family in the house. Third Friday of each month, we have Raymond McMillan come on of the McMillan Group. They've been doing mortgages since 1999. And Ray is in the green room. Ray, when you're ready, we're ready for you. So once you're ready, you tell us what you're good with. So I think he's addressing something at the moment, but once he comes on camera, we will get him on. So as we're just waiting for Ray, but anything else you're wanting to chat about this week, sir?
Well, I'm curious, have you ever been golfing?
The last time I golfed, it was a long time ago. I went with some people. I had the best first shot, and then it went downhill from there.
And that's so interesting, because my first shot ever on a golf course was probably the worst shot in the history of golf. So
did it go backwards?
It went directly sideways and in between the heads of three people. So three men were standing there, and it went just shunks. And so the person that brought me was like, yo, that could have been the shortest career in golf ever.
Yes.
Those men. It was brutal.
Okay, so family, we have our friend, Mr. Ray McMillan, in the house. Hey. What is going up, Ray McMillan? All right, you need to unmute yourself, my brother, and we can get you. There we go. We have our friend. Okay, we got some feedback going on there.
Oh, it's probably delayed a bit.
Good morning.
Unmute yourself, brother.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I hear some. Okay, can you hear us okay, Ray?
Yeah, I'm hearing you loud and clear, yeah.
There we go. We're good to go. Excellent. How are you this morning? Okay, so there is a little delay. So after we say something around, we'll just give it a little bit of time and space. So how are you this morning, Ray?
I'm doing very well, gentlemen.
Ray, are you a golfer? I never heard you talk about golf.
I played a bit. I've got friends who play in there's a lot of senior golf tournaments. I prefer going to the driving range and digging up the grass and getting rid of my frustrations. But it's a very good sport to play. It's one where you get a lot of exercise. You put a lot of walking in. If you walk in the course, not using the golf cart, and it's good to get out. But I've got a bit of a bum left shoulder, so it affects my swing, and the pain hits me at the strangest moments. So, but man, it's a great sport. So I did a lot of soccer. That was my thing.
Yeah, not to dig into your business, but the article about marriage, I was curious to get your thoughts on how important it is to plan before jumping into marriage.
Oh, very. I think marriage is not about two people, it's about two families, right? People get involved in a relationship without knowing the backgrounds of the person they're with. Somebody's beautiful or handsome or they dress well, and that is the initial attraction. But I think understanding the background, the family dynamics is much more important if you want to have a successful and wealthy marriage, however you define that. To me, friendship is the most important thing. You know what I mean? People talk about friendships. Like, people are more loyal to their friends. They treat their friends better than they treat their spouses.
Okay.
So yeah, you love this person, but they're not your friend.
Yeah,
if they were your friend, you'd never do, right? So I think the friendship is what's important. If you have a very long friendship, and how you court that person. I mean, most people are intimate after a few dates, and once you've gone down that road, it's becomes more of a lustful thing than a loving thing.
Makes sense.
But I mean, that's just my perspective. I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm the wrong person to be asking these questions, but I've got different life experiences, and I've watched people around me who've had very healthy marriages. I've just observed how they've done it. But what you did was probably the right way. That long dating period, the premarital counseling, having similar faith, having the same belief system. Because if you and your spouse aren't on the same page with your faith, when things get challenging, you will find yourself, having different ways of dealing with those challenges. I mean, you want to do 50 years, you got to understand it. My grandparents did 50 plus years of marriage, and I watched them.
Right.
Different generation. I mean, my grandfather never argued with my grandmother. I never saw my grandparents arguing. I mean, my grandmother would get a little, she's Virgo, so she's a little feisty. And she would get up, and say things, and my grandfather would just very calmly, her name was Ivy Dolores. He just says, okay, Ivy, it's okay. And he never would raise his voice at her. He never got into an argument. And I always say, from learning, I say, men who argue with women, they need to really recheck themselves. Argue with a woman, there's something wrong with you. You know what I mean? But it's an interesting subject, and I think I always say for us as Black and African people, the marriage foundation is what's going to change our future.
Absolutely.
We got to pick our partners properly. Women give us access to them, but men decide who they want to get married to.
Okay.
So,
well said.
I mean,
absolutely.
Women control the access, but at the end of the day, a man says, "Well, I want to get married to this one." You could have many options, but then you choose this one person. And, we make that decision who we want to get married to. We propose to that person; they don't propose to us most of the time.
Well, even that's starting to shift where women are proposing to men now.
And that's messed up, in my opinion. I don't understand that concept. I don't see why one should propose to a man. It sounds like
yes.
But I don't want to offend anybody here. You got a lot of values that I do. So
no, you say what you want.
I'm not. Nah.
Yeah. Okay. This is
the morning vibe.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's catch up on some things. Frequency Event Promotion says, good greetings, Ray Real Estate McMillan. Fitness IQ says, good day, Raymond. Frequency Event Promotion says, they say the golf course can carry great business meetings. Who wants to go golfing next week? Fitness IQ Cam say,
come out.
Fitness IQ Cam says, is mini putt okay? I don't mind doing the mini putt thing.
I haven't seen many business deals done at the mini golf course.
And then Fitness IQ is saying to Ray's comments, smart man. So we have set up, we've laid the foundation. Today we're going to be talking another great subject, and Ray can give very good authority on this. We're going to chat today about, they're lagging a little bit today, whether you should buy your home or build your home in the Caribbean. Ray, kick it off.
Oh, okay.
And bring lots of questions, people. I have questions, but we want you to ask a lot of questions. So Ray, kick it off.
Yeah, I mean, for many of us who live in North America and Europe, England, France, Belgium, there's always that thing of going back to the Caribbean. And to understand going back to the Caribbean, whether it's repatriation or remigration, the terms they use, you have to understand why we left. And people left the Caribbean in different periods for different reasons. So in the early 60s, it was because they were leaving to study in many cases. Most went to the UK, and some went for better jobs. Before many of the places got independence, you could have traveled to England very easily from most of the English-speaking Caribbean. And to understand the Caribbean, you have to understand what makes up the entire Caribbean. So we go from Bermuda in the north to Guyana in the south, which is in South America, Barbados in the east, to Belize in the west. That's considered the Caribbean. And in between there, you got a multitude of French, Spanish, and Dutch islands. You got a population of almost 50 million people. Now, the English-speaking Caribbean is only 14 million people. So we're going to focus on the English-speaking Caribbean, which is where I'm from, and I guess most of the audience is from. If there are any Haitians in the audience, my apologies. I don't know a lot about Haiti, but I do know enough, but that's not part of our conversation today. And the experience in Africa is very similar, whether it's Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, West Africa, because they're all former colonies of the British, quote-unquote, empire, if you want to refer to it as that. So let's put it in context. Now, in the second wave of immigrants who left probably in the 70s, they left mostly from Trinidad, Jamaica, and Guyana. They left because of economic hardship in those countries, where if you're familiar with Caribbean economics, there's a lot of currency devaluations to the IMF. So you see the Jamaican and Guyanese dollar and Trinidadian dollar going from $1 US to $1 local dollar down to, I think, 1 to 100 in Jamaica today, and then 1 to, I think it's 20 in Trinidad, and 1 to 200 in Guyana. So the entire middle class and educated folks left the Caribbean at that point in time. The next big wave was in the 90s, and that was because of crime. And again, it was the educated middle class who left, professionals. And then the most recent wave was probably from Jamaica in the mid-2000s, where there was, again, a mass exodus of educated Jamaicans, professionals. A lot of engineers left the island. Barbados, which was called the crown jewel of the Caribbean, never saw mass migration after the 60s. Most Bajans tended to go back to Barbados. It had a very strong foothold in Barbados, while in the other parts of the Caribbean, when it was left, a lot of conversations focused on not going back to the Caribbean. Like, I left in 1989 after finishing university. I was on a plane the day after my last exam at university. I came to Toronto. And I didn't leave. I left because of corruption and crime. I had a job offer from the Guyanese government, but I opted to get on a plane and come to Toronto. And when I left, my thing was, I'm never going back to Guyana, because what I remembered, what I experienced, didn't warrant me wanting me to return, which is perhaps one of my biggest mistakes in my life. Because fast forward to today, I'm now in my late 50s. And I mean, our conversation today is going to focus on why I should have looked at that whole experience very, very differently. So the reason why people leave determines if they're going to go back and how they're going to go back, right? So as we spend time in North America, you realize that life here is not that big a deal. It is not much different from the Caribbean. And then nostalgia steps in, right? And then, with a lot of the expansion in the hotel industry, property values start to increase. So you see the little home you had in Trelawney or in Port Antonio or in Maiconi or down in parts of southern Trinidad or in Vegetable Bay in Barbados or in Stuart St. Lucia, the value starts to increase significantly, and you start reassessing why we're here. And to get closer to retirement, you look at inflation in North America and all the other costs of living here. We start thinking, you know what? my $4,000 pension can probably go much further in the Caribbean, most parts of the Caribbean,
true,
than they will go in most large North American cities, because most of us as immigrants tend to live in large North American cities, which are the most expensive places to live in globally. We're living in the Torontos, the Montreal, the Vancouvers, the New York, the Atlanta, New Jersey, that kind of stuff. So it's a very costly process to retire here. So that's basically the foundation of why people come to this part of the world and why many start going back to the Caribbean.
But that's where don't people get kind of shy away from building? So we're talking about either buying a home there or building it. All the horror stories that we hear about trying to build homes in the Caribbean. I know my family has its own story of that house in Jamaica that money goes into it, but construction doesn't seem to happen from it. So now trying to manage that whole process. Any tips or guidance around that whole process?
So my first experience with advising clients to go back to the Caribbean was in 2001. I had an elderly no, but an older Jamaican friend who had a successful business here, very successful. He's in the patty business. He didn't own a home in Canada, and because of the way he ran his business, he had a difficult time qualifying for a mortgage. Is there a lot of background noise?
Just a little, not a lot, just a little.
Okay. There's some construction and they got some home equipment going on, so I don't want to disturb the audience with that noise. I can try and put on my headphones. I don't like using headphones. I don't like stuff stuck in my ears for some reason. Childhood trauma. You know what I mean? So I don't wear headphones, but anyway, that's a different conversation. Yeah, so I mean, he came to me and he asked about, what you should do. I said, well, you went to Jamaica 4 or 5 times a year at that point in time. And you all stayed in hotels. At that point, you could have bought a home in Jamaica for like around $65,000 US. 2-bedroom home, 800 square foot on probably a 7,000, 8,000 square foot lot, which is a pretty big lot when you compare lot sizes in Toronto. Absolutely. And it was what they call a gated community. Gated, that term is used very loosely in the Caribbean, and I don't consider gated. I consider it probably a controlled environment. Gated is a whole different definition when it comes to living environments. And he was, like, how do I do it? And he had a lot of cash, and we spoke to a few builders in the Caribbean, and he wanted to live in a certain type of neighborhood. And fast forward 25 years, every time he sees me, he always tells both myself and Stefan that, man, that was the best decision I ever made in my life. Because go down to Jamaica and spend a month at a time or spend 2 months at a time, and he's gotten older. He appreciated the decision he made. So buying is usually the easier routes. And with buying, you have to understand the mortgage process. You have to understand the down payment requirements. People here complain about mortgages in Canada, how complex they are. But trust me, you don't want to get a mortgage in the Caribbean, whether it's Jamaica, Guyana, or Barbados. It's a long process. Right. And it also has an age bias. So if you were 65 years old trying to get a mortgage in the Caribbean, they'd probably be like a 10-year mortgage. Got 10 years to pay it off. Well, there's no age bias in North America. If you want a 30-year, I'm at 75 years old, you will get it. So you can't that kind of stuff here. But the banks are very, very conservative in how they lend money to people over 50 years of age, because they're saying that your life expectancy is reduced.
Exactly.
You won't be left with this mortgage when you are dead, right? So you find yourself having a much more difficult time buying if you're older. So my regret was not making those choices in my 30s, because I was too busy living the North American lifestyle and understanding the false trappings of, and basically indulging in what I call the false trappings of success, because it isn't, or ability to acquire real wealth in North America is just limited to the house we live in. Very few require more than that. While in the Caribbean, the opportunities are tremendous. You've got various sources of income from your property if you're in the right location. Now, coming back to the build versus buy, the build for many people is challenging because most people have never done a construction project in their entire life. So you're a homeowner who's lived in Canada in a house you bought from Matthew or wherever you bought the home from. And then you go back to the Caribbean, a place you left 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. The entire society has changed. The way things are done are very, very different. But you've got to basically rewind your clock about 15 years when you land in the Caribbean. The financial infrastructure is not the same. Many dimensions don't exist. But then you try to build a custom home, but you can't spend 6 months in the country. You can't start a construction project anywhere in the Caribbean and not be there from start to finish. And if you have to leave, you have to stop the project. So it's not that the contractors are untrustworthy or incompetent. It's that the people who are taking on these projects don't know what they're doing. And if you go to anywhere in the Caribbean, you will see a multitude of unfinished homes throughout the island. Because the one thing that people understand what is called escalation costs when it comes to construction. Right? I'm not a developer or a contractor, but I have financed enough construction projects to understand the financing part of it and the project management part of it. And that's the reason that a lot of folks run into problems when they try to build in the Caribbean. You don't have the necessary time to invest in that project to make it very, very effective and efficient. The other thing is they tend to build where they came from. So they go back to that neighborhood, build the biggest house in a basic community. And they don't really get the support of the people around them because there's this adversarial dynamic between local residents and repatriating residents. This is not a very seamless, friendly.
Were you at our Thanksgiving dinner talking about?
I've lived it firsthand.
This is exactly what was happening.
Yeah, like when you
come area that they built the bigger house in was not the greatest area from where they came from, and now the neighbors seeing this activity are kind of feeling away. And I was like, this is a whole new dynamic to me. And you're like hitting each spot. I was like, yo, were you there?
So a lot of us make decisions based on nostalgia and emotion when it comes to the Caribbean without any real logic and understanding your environment. You can't go back. I mean, some of us came from very middle class environments in parts of the Caribbean, so that's different. But if you come from a rural part of the country where everybody's living in an 800 square foot house with one bathroom and toilet, and then you're going to go back there and build a 4-bedroom, 6,000 square foot house and have 3 Mercedes-Benz parking in your driveway, you're going to have a small problem. You have to understand that dynamic.
2-story house on the whole
street. Yeah, you have to build a house on the street, right? So you've now made everybody there look very, very inadequate because we're all the same age now. My mom told me something many years ago that many folks who went to England in the 60s couldn't afford to go back home because they had squandered the opportunity they had. And they didn't have the resources to go back to the Caribbean because they lived this lifestyle, this new lifestyle where they just lived for the moment, but they couldn't go back. So it's important to understand the nuances of the Caribbean. And then you've got to be very, very patient. And the other thing you have to understand is that how the currencies work. So many Caribbean currencies, they basically fluctuate on a daily basis. They're not fixed. It's not a fixed exchange currency. So your cost of materials, particularly if you're in Ghana and Jamaica, are changing all the time. So if you have a $200,000 budget to build your home, by the time you get halfway through your construction, your budget is now $250,000. Just based on that currency fluctuation, because 95% of the materials you're going to use to build in, if you're buying them locally, are being bought. They're being imported from overseas. They aren't manufactured. All your local is your sand and your bricks are local and possibly wood if you're in Guyana. Now, a lot of wind are being manufactured in parts of the Caribbean. I know Jamaica has a lot of large factories manufacturing a lot of stuff locally in Jamaica. So does Guyana. But if you're in St. Lucia and Grenada and Dominica and St. Vincent, those little islands, everything you're going to put in your home is being imported. Everything you want that hardware store, that price is huge.
It's always going up.
Just here in Guyana, I've been here for 2.5 months, and every single day, prices are changing. The truck or the sand is going, like every day changes. So your budget, you've got to consider having what we call overrunning your budget or at least 20% to make your project take the project to completion.
Absolutely.
And that is something many people. So even my own sister here, she says, "Oh, most contractors here are thieves." No, they're not thieves. You're not a builder. No, I'm not saying they aren't dishonest contractors. Right. I'm not saying there's any kind of opportunity. What I'm saying is that you are not equipped to build any house anywhere. You've never done it before. You understand the process. So you need to hire a project manager who understands the numbers, who can build your spreadsheet and take this for you.
Okay, stop while we're ahead, because Ray, you said you wanted questions. You're going to get them, but and we're just going to start here. Verna G asks, isn't the political situation one of the reasons for leaving at least one of the countries named? Like, so you named a bunch of countries earlier along, but what about the factor of politics or the political climate in the Caribbean from your lens?
Yes, I mean, politics is always an issue with all the islands because we've got these polarizing political parties in almost every Caribbean island. In Jamaica, it's the JLP and the JNP. PNP stuff. In Guyana, it's the PND and APNU PNC coalition. In Trinidad, it's exactly the same thing. So you have two parties. And in Trinidad and Guyana, the polarization is along politics and race. In Jamaica, it's not so much race. In St. Lucia, it's not race. It's just parties. And politicians in Guyana win votes based on infrastructural promises. So they promise to bring streetlights to your neighborhood, or promise to bring, fix the roads or build a school and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and I mean, with some of the politics you have, there's a bit of political violence. I mean, if you're from Jamaica, you will know that a lot of political violence in the South. I mean, it's part of the culture in Jamaica and Guyana, political violence.
Yep.
And in Trinidad to some extent. I would say that as a repatriating resident, you avoid local politics. I don't talk politics in anywhere I'm in the Caribbean. I mean, I go to Grenada. I don't get involved in those conversations because I haven't lived there long enough to be part of that conversation. I leave the local politics to the local residents who have a vested interest. At the end of the day, I was telling my daughter yesterday, I can leave the Caribbean anytime and go back to one of the quote-unquote developed nations, whether it's the UK, Canada, or the US, and leave the mess behind me and have to stay in it. So all of us who have the opportunity to come back to the Caribbean have that option. If you move back to Jamaica from Toronto and the politics doesn't suit your fancy, you list your home for sale and you move back to Toronto, or you move to Florida, or wherever you feel more comfortable. So we have an option. So I don't get involved in politics, but yeah, politics is a major part of the reason many of us migrated. But coming back here, you want to avoid the conversation of politics if you don't plan to be involved in politics. If you plan to be involved in politics, that's a different story. You get involved.
All right. Next conversation piece, Naleen. Okay. It's just... Okay, we're waiting. The software is a little buggy today. Hold on there. I think we're going to get it coming up now. Yes. Can you speak to having a project manager for your project in the Caribbean, please?
Good question. I first saw it in action back in the early 2000s in Grenada. I spent a lot of time in the island of Grenada, and I met a gentleman who was actually managing the project of 4 beautiful homes in Grand Anse, Grenada, for people living in the UK. And he had come home and he had undertaken to build for them. He managed the entire project. I'm currently doing the same thing, where there's someone who's doing a project in the Caribbean and they've basically engaged me to manage that project for them. So we have a budget. I manage the contractor. The contractor manages the laborers. We run a spreadsheet. We keep on top of every dollar we spend. There's always going to be surprises. I mean, one of the things that the contractor did, and if you don't know to read a quotation, you understand what you're reading, you will miss things. So the contractor did a quotation. So if you live in the Caribbean, every house has security bars in it, right? That's just part of life. You build a house in the Caribbean, whether there's low crime or no crime, every house got bars, right? So he did this quotation, and there were 2 things that were omitted from the quotation. There was no code for electrical work, and there was no code for the kitchen, and there's no code for the security bars. Now, those 3 items are the most expensive items in your construction project. Your electrician, right? Getting your stuff past the code. So if you don't understand how to read that quotation and you're not familiar with it, then you will miss things that you thought should have been there. And then when the house is finished, you realize, okay, there's no kitchen in the house. And then you get this call, oh, I need to pay the electrician X number of dollars. And that's where you get the confusion. Okay, the contractor is now robbing me. He's not robbing you. He is just building your house foundation, walls. He's not an electrician. So if you don't understand that process, you're caught in the nonsense. So my experience allowed me to go through the documentation. This person was able to do on their own and pick out what needed to be factored in that would increase the cost of the project. Now, I'm also on the ground, so I can price stuff here, price stuff back in North America, look at shipping costs and currency exchange, and decide whether it makes sense to buy it here or buy it overseas. The other thing I'm also able to do, if you're familiar with both Jamaica, Trinidad, and Guyana, you have a lot of large Chinese businesses selling products. And I'm going to say this very carefully. You have to look at what is called counterfeit merchandise, because that Moen faucet might not be a real Moen faucet. And if you don't know what you're looking for, you're buying stuff at Moen price that's not going to give you Moen quality. Now, I'm not trying to promote Moen stuff here. This is not advertising plug, so I thought I'd survive. But that's what I'm saying. So the project manager who understands the construction process and understands real estate and building can save you a lot of money and time. So I can say, okay, I'm going to get your project done in 3 months, start to finish. 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 1,400 square feet, bungalow, 2-story, 3 months. And I guarantee you I'll get it done in 3 months. But if you're trying to do it by yourself remotely and you can only spend 2 weeks at a time here, that's going to take you 3 years to build that house. And your budget's going to be shot.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is securing your work site, because there is theft. There's opportunity theft here. If you deliver a bunch of stuff to your home and it's not secured properly, you'll come back the next day and all the stuff is gone. All your blocks are gone. Yeah. All the tanks are gone. So you have to be there. And that's the same thing in Jamaica. If you deliver 2 trucks of sand to your place and you get up in the morning, half the sand is gone. Right? And if you're building that big house in a very simple neighborhood and neighbors don't like you, they aren't looking out for you. You have to
that's right.
Your environment. I'm not saying be friendly with every single person, but understand your environment and the dynamic to make the process easy for you. And that's why in many cases, it might be more advantageous to buy your property if you can afford to do so rather than build it. Now, there's a huge disparity between building and buying in the Caribbean. I mean, if you look at Jamaica, for example, you're buying it around $500,000 today. In St. Lucia and Grenada, it's about the same thing. You're buying between $3 million to 300,000 US to 700,000 US. In Guyana, the prices are all over the place. There is no regulated real estate in the Caribbean outside of probably Barbados and Jamaica. So there's no governing bodies, so you would deem it a realtor, quote unquote, at your own mercy. Something goes wrong, you can, there's no body to report incompetency to. So you have to take all this into consideration. So you have to find a team on the ground who understand, who have done it successfully, who have a network, and who can assist you through the process. So what we need as expats who want to repatriate is a diaspora community. So if you want to move back to St. Lucia and you want to find 10 people who you can interact with who have done it already to save you time. Because the key is to save you time. I mean, time you spend, once you save time, you save money.
Makes sense.
All right. So just to catch up on a few things, Tim Frey, a little while back, says, Ray looks like he's getting younger every week.
Hey.
I gotta step up my game. All right.
That Caribbean son, man. You got to go and spend 2 months in Barbados, and he looked younger than I do.
Okay.
Coconut
Gloria
water.
Small.
There's coconut water.
Yes, Gloria Small says morning team, and she also says DCAG. I don't know what that acronym is.
So that's the Durham Community Action Group.
Okay, there you go. Yes. There's your end. Let's see. Evelyn Myrie, it's good to see you. Construction in Jamaica is crazy. Lots more convos.
Oh, good to see you, Evelyn.
Condos, sorry. And Divine Right says, good morning, everyone from the DMV area. We can't do a Ray appearance on the morning live without Divine Right being here. Nice. So there's some other. So Marlon Stephen has a few questions. So first question from Marlon is, are there opportunities to leverage private financing networks from the West? How would you address the limited supply of building and finishing materials, bathroom fixtures, appliances? So you talked a little bit about that, but go ahead. And lots of people are watching live. Put in your comments. Ray wants comments and questions.
Well, it's not the West. It's actually the North, Marlon. We're not in Asia. We're in the Caribbean. So North America is
we talk about the Western world.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm going to get a job for lesson, Marlon. Anyway, but I do get what you're saying. Anybody who's financing stuff in the Caribbean, in North America, but first of all, let me rephrase that. It's difficult to get it done from North America, financing the Caribbean. I've had one project done in Barbados where I got financing from somebody in Canada, and that person had owned property in Barbados. They had a business office in Barbados. Mm-hmm. So they may have had business in also, but they understand the landscape. I have tried to get a lot of projects done in Jamaica, finance, and I've never had any luck doing it. The reasons why: you can't manage default in a country that you have your legal structure. So if you lend money to a corporation in Canada or the US, in St. Lucia, Grenada, or Jamaica, and that person defaults on your money, how are you going to get your money back? Because your legal structure for your business is a jurisdiction. Right? And the laws are very, very different. I mean, it probably take 20 years to get your money back to the courts in Guyana, probably the same in Jamaica. Right? So that is usually very challenging. So unless you got a personal relative or family money, or you got somebody who actually understands the island, but it's Grenada. So in Grenada, St. Lucia, Barbados, and Jamaica, there's a lot of European money there, and US money from white companies. And there's a lot of old money in Jamaica also from white and half-white families. So if you might have that connection, then it might be easier to get your project financed. But 9 or 10 times, you're financing through the bank or a credit union. And the financing is very, very challenging, very tiresome. So the easier process, if you're going to build or buy in the Caribbean, is to borrow money from your asset in the US or Canada or England, use it at much lower rates and much easier, and then use your money and buy cash. So what we've done over the years is basically have clients refinance their property in Toronto or the GTA or anywhere in Canada, take the desired amount of cash out, and then go buy. And once you have cash in your hand, it's easier to negotiate price. That's how it will work in your favor than if you plan to finance the project. Because as I said earlier, there's no regulation in the Caribbean when it comes to real estate. Yes, there's Century 21 and there is Remax going out there. And I mean, I have a very close colleague who's a very successful realtor in Jamaica. So I'm not trying to be offhandish in my comment because she's licensed, but the governing bodies aren't as effective as what we have in the US. So buying cash is the easier thing to do.
Okay, so just want to interrupt for a few things. First of all, thank you for people who are watching on Instagram. We're going to shut down the Instagram live. Go to the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube and watch the rest of the conversation or watch the replay when this is done. Want to shout out to Fiona Gobin, Frequency Event Promotion, Savio Clementi, Caesar's Crown Lifestyle Brand. You have your new place out in East Toronto. When I'm getting an invite.
Check that out. Yes.
Oh, it's closer to Ryan than me. And BIA Media, thanks for stopping by. We're going to shut down the Instagram live. Remember to give yourself grace. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. Be well and keep the faith. All right. And comments here. So
the second part of Martin's question, sorry.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
In terms of buying your fixtures and stuff, I mean, you can find very good quality product throughout the Caribbean. The challenge is the price might be significantly different. So you have to make a decision whether, okay, am I going to ship and insure and run the risk of stuff arriving here damaged or disappearing on the wharf and process, or do I buy locally? And that's where having someone who understands product. I mean, I know all the major faucet manufacturers. And I know, I mean, there's a huge price range between a kitchen faucet. They can go from $300 up to $60. And the $60 faucet might be just as good as a $300 faucet, but the design is different. So you're paying for design, functionality, and durability. So, okay, do I need high-end design right now, or do I want functionality and durability?
Functionality,
right? And your process is the most important thing, right? So those you have to make. So a lot of people want the high-end design, and they don't have the necessary money to do it. Your tiles, for example, you find a wide selection of all types of tiles throughout the Caribbean. What you might not find is the selection of colors, right? So you might find all colored tiles, or all ivory colored tiles, or all brown tiles. If you want the colors and designs like backsplash tiles, you have a limited supply, because remember, you're in a part of the world where a lot of folks are building very simple homes. So the demand for certain things don't exist. We're talking 14 million people in the Caribbean. Between Toronto and New York, that's 14 million people, right? So your demand is different. So you have to put it in perspective. So if you want to find specific items, you may have to ship it in. I've got a buddy who's building some apartments here. And right now he's in the US he's bringing all his stuff in. Now, I wouldn't do that, because my opinion is a little different. I want that the construction process in the Caribbean benefits the local economies. There's a big conversation here. I don't want us to be building homes in the Caribbean and not using local suppliers for what we're buying, because you're beating the purpose. So you can find a lot of stuff here, but your selection may be limited.
Got it. Okay, so Marlon said, sorry, I had limited characters to post my questions, so I used the colloquial term West. He also says, sounds like an opportunity to build a project management consultancy, Ray. We can add construction and construction materials, LOL. Okay. Tim says that, Ray, I start working from Barbados in November every other month. 1 month in Canada, 1 month in Barbados.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Also, and then Evelyn says lots of gated community in Jamaica too. Many are expats. Divine Right says, congratulating Tim, saying that's going to be amazing. Evelyn also says, there are amazing products in Jamaica. I was very impressed with the designs and functionality.
And that is so true. Evelyn's comment. That is very true.
Okay. Go ahead, Gray. Go ahead.
The Royal Group, out of, if I am correct. Yeah, there are many Canadian companies who set up manufacturing facilities to manufacture a lot of product needed for construction in the Caribbean, both in Jamaica and Ghana. Because with the construction boom that took place over the last 10 years in the Caribbean, because you have a whole, that's immigration. But if the people moved in the Caribbean during the 60s and 70s, they're now at the point where they want to go back, because they're tired of the cold, they're retired. So you have all these people who are repatriated. I mean, the Jamaican and Guyanese diaspora is probably the largest in North America. We don't know what the exact number is. Some people say around 2 million people or 3 million people. That's a lot of people. And if they've worked all their lives in North America and they've acquired assets, and half of them have done okay, even if they own a house, right? That's a lot of money that can go back to the Caribbean. So, when people speak of the Caribbean, it's just very backward place. There's a lot of opportunity for the person who wants to repatriate. And now the other thing also is that even if you build a home in the Caribbean, you have more options if it's in the right location of what you can do with it when you aren't living in it. Because there's a huge demand for short-term rentals. I don't mean weekend rentals or one. I'm talking 3 months or 4 months at a time, probably 6 months. A lot of times there's consultants who come to the Caribbean, right? All the islands from different foreign agencies. And if they travel with their families, then they want a nice home in a safer environment. And that's where the gated community that Mary mentioned in Jamaica come into play, because they want to live among like people, right? I mean, you see Brampton. Brampton is basically one type of ethnicity, because we want to live among. If you're an expat from Europe, your friends are. You want to live among other Europeans, whether they're from Belgium, Germany, France, or England. If you have a lot of if you're from the part of the US where you live, then you want to live there. So there's a lot of opportunity what you can do at the home. You don't use it, and you just schedule your time. So if you know you're going to spend winters in the Caribbean from November to April, then you rent your home from May to September.
There you go.
Because empty homes, anything that's fixed for a long time, deteriorate. If you park your car for 6 months, it's going to start to deteriorate. If you leave your home empty for 6 months, it's going to start to deteriorate. Things are meant to be used and lived in. Not people, things are meant to be used and lived in. Right? So you have to live. So you have to have that home occupied almost all the time. I've got a friend who I was with yesterday. He does car rentals, right? He has a car. He's planning to be parked here in the Caribbean. And he brought down a vehicle. It's 8-seater, but when he's not here, he rents it. And it basically gives him enough spending money when he's here. So there's many things you can do to make your repatriation move easier if you consult and converse with the right people who have done it and done it successfully. The challenge is many people are doing it without telling anybody what they're doing, and then they're going into the problem, and hence you hear, the contractors are all thieves, they don't know what they're doing. But you didn't tell anybody what you were trying to do. You didn't necessarily advise. Effectively do your project, right? So if you tell people what you're trying to do, because everybody's done what you've done, but it's a well-kept secret, right? I've been helping clients buy property throughout the Caribbean for the last 20 years. No, I don't announce it on my website, but I've effectively done it in Jamaica, Grenada, St. Lucia, Barbados, and Guyana, right? So I understand the nuances of those environments. I'm not familiar with South and East Africa and West Africa, but I've never spent a lot of time there. But I'm pretty sure that the nuances are very similar, because culturally there's not much differences, and the people function basically the same, whether they're from Ghana, from Jamaica, or Guyana, right? So you have to understand what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Well, and I have to apologize, because usually during our conversations, I put Ray's contact information on a few times. Hadn't done it yet because I've been listening so intently, but he's on his wonderful company, the McMillan Group Inc., sponsors our Monday conversations. And if you look in the description of this conversation on the post, his contact information is there. Also on all our Monday conversations, the contact information is there. So my apologies, Ray, for not posting it up earlier.
That's apology accepted.
Thank you. Because a lot of people have been watching this, and I'm wanting to get more questions. Actually, I got another question coming up right now. Oh, well, Evelyn, thank you, Evelyn. Evelyn is saying, and at least probably from a Jamaica perspective, the hardware business is booming. Also, she says the young people are also looking at options due to high costs of living here. My next gens are inquiring about going to the Caribbean as they can't afford the cold. I think that was the thing, as Ray just said.
Yeah, and that is very true. Also, there's a lot of the younger generation, those in their 20s and early 30s, are looking to go back, because we've had the economies of these countries are growing. I mean, you have a very efficient. Well, I mean, in the cities, you've got a lot of banking jobs, you've got a lot of consultant jobs. For architects, engineers, a lot of development taking place. You've got the hotel industry in many parts of the Caribbean. So if you're into hospitality, there are huge opportunities there. Hospitality training. There's a lot of jobs in IT, for example. And if you can work remotely, then why not be in the Caribbean, where you can have a very relaxed lifestyle, great weather, and fresh food? I mean, that's what is going to help us to live healthy lives. So yes, Evan is right. I mean, my own son is looking at opportunities outside of Canada for residents. I mean, Florida is great, but when you compare the cost of living in Florida compared to, let's say, Grenada, it's remarkably different. What you have to be very conscious of also is that a lot of the efficiencies aren't there. So, I mean, if you leave the larger islands and you go into places like St. Vincent and Grenada and St. Lucia, even though they're small islands, getting around can be very difficult if you live outside of the city. So getting to the airport, in Grenada, for example, to get from the north of the island where I stayed the last time to the airport, it's an hour and a half drive. It's 26 miles. So it takes an hour and a half to get there. So that can be frustrating if you travel frequently. Then there's lack in the banking system. And I don't mean banks where you do international transactions. I'm talking about local banking, where you're doing there's no digital banking in most of the islands, most of the Caribbean. So if you use a credit card or debit card frequently, you find that most businesses only take cash. So you go to the nice restaurant, but they only take cash. So you also have to have a lot of cash with you. So if you're in a place where the exchange rate is like Ghana or Jamaica, 100 to 1, 200 to 1, you walk with large amounts of cash.
Right.
So you run the risk of being robbed because there's an opportunity to be very, very those kinds of things. So I don't want a lot of cash unnecessarily. If I plan to go and buy something, then I walk not to do that. Like a friend of mine invited me out yesterday to go have a drink. I said, well, I didn't change any money. He said, don't worry, I got you. Because I don't plan to spend any money this week, so I didn't change any money. I don't need any money here. I'm not changing money unnecessarily. And if you go to most places, then you can't tap your debit card. So for a lot of the millennials and younger generation, and the Gen Zs, when they come to the many parts of the Caribbean, they have to adapt to that. So you're now going from a cashless society to a cash-only society.
Yeah,
you're going back to prior to the 19. I mean, debit card came into effect in Canada in 1997, right? So if you were born after 97, after 97, all you need is a debit card. So for me, walking with cash is normal because I grew up in the Caribbean where cash is king, right? So I adapted very easy. So you have to learn to adapt to those little nuances, which if you can't adapt, they will irritate you. The pace is slower, There's a lot of holidays in the Caribbean, and if you have your tradesmen, you got to be very specific. You manage your project. You want to tell your okay, I need you here 8:30 till 4 o'clock. We have a half hour for lunch. One of the ways to get your workers to produce for you, provide lunch for them. It doesn't cost a whole lot, right? You can do it once a week or every other day. I mean, I had a family member. My brother actually built a house here in Guyana, and he had a minibus. He going to pick up his workmen, get them to the work site. He brought everybody lunch, then he took them back home. So he built a house, probably 2,800 square feet in 3 months. With no overruns or anything. He was here through the entire process. So there's ways to do it. People have done it. You have to understand the process, but you can't just land in the Caribbean and say, I want to buy a house, build a house here.
Exactly.
You have money every year. And then you give $100,000 to somebody here who's a distant cousin we haven't seen in 15 years. And expect them to have your level of, what's the right word? Of respect for your hard-earned money, right? So not necessarily that they're gonna rob you. I mean, they may, but also they may spend your money frivolously.
Yeah, because suddenly they're rich. It's like money lands.
And then a lot of folks come back to the Caribbean and they flaunt this wealthy lifestyle. Meanwhile, they're struggling in North. I mean, that's struggling, living a very basic life. So people see you as this rich godfather. Now, if you function that way, then people think you have a whole lot of money. And they're not going to respect your mighty dollar. So you have to really understand all those nuances, have a clear-cut plan, build your budget, build your spreadsheet,
have a team.
Speak to what people who've done it. Ask them what their challenges were. Take note of those challenges. Like maybe you have to burglar and close the entire place on this project I'm doing right now. And I didn't think it was going to cost what I heard. When I got the quote, I'm had a coronary attack because I was totally shocked. Because the grill work costs more than almost everything else I did so far.
Wow.
Right? The grill work was a high-end kitchen, but grill work is very, very necessary. Right? Because there is kind of opportunity. And if you leave your home unsecured and you're gone for 2 months, you're fucking might find it empty. So you have to drill it, right? No, that's not something we do in Canada. So you may think, okay, I need to drill my house. It's fine. No, you have to drill your home. So then you go through your construction projections. You got to make sure, okay, where's the plumbing costs? Where's the electrical costs? Where is the kitchen? Where's the painting? Because you got to paint the house. There's no paint in my construction thing. So if you don't know what you're looking for, then you got a challenge. And that's when you say, oh, the contractor robbed me because wants $10,000 more or $50,000 more. But he omitted certain things that you didn't notice yourself, and now you're blaming the contractor. So the project manager who understands construction, or finance construction, is the bridge between the chaos.
All right. So Evelyn says cost of living. She also says, sorry, Ray, Jamaica is very digital.
In the major urban centers, not to make deep the thing. I mean, small stores are still taking cash. I mean, but that's a different conversation.
Okay. And nice segue. Someone you know very well, Stephen McMillan, has a question. Can you provide any insights on how economic factors might influence construction costs?
That's a very good question. Significantly. I mean, we talk about inflation in Canada being 4%, 5%, and we're pulling our hair out. For those of us who have hair, Dr. Vibe.
Respect.
Inflation in the Caribbean is very, very different. It's much higher. I mean, prices increase in the Caribbean on a daily basis. They change every single day because many other variables, and if you're importing 95% of the stuff you need to build, then you will have those costs. So I mean, because the economies are growing at a very rapid rate in some of the territories, the governments are cognizant of what needs to be done. But in many places, it's controlled by the local merchants. If you've got two companies that sell all the paint you need in the island, then they have total control over their price points. In the GTA, you probably got, 40 Home Depots probably in the GTA. You've got Canadian Tire, you've got Lowe's still around, you've got Home Hardware, you've got specialty paint stores.
Rona, you got Lowe's.
Of things. You don't have that many suppliers with the products you need, so you got a lot of price gouging, right? You have to consider that. So, I mean, I would hope that with the sudden spike in construction locally, the government recognizes what needs to be done and put the necessary controls in place. But at the moment, they aren't any. You're at the mercy of the person you're buying from, right? You go to buy, light fixtures. I mean, you buy light fixtures, you go to 4 different stores, and you see very similar products for a price variation that might be 100% different in price for the same product or very similar product, right? Whoa. And a lot of times it has to do where the store is located. It has to do with the layout of the store. So in a nicer, more modern store, you find stuff priced at a higher price. They've got more sophisticated staff. While you go into a simple, basic store, probably by a regular local merchant, it's a little more chaotic, but your price may be a little better. But yeah, there's the local governments haven't done a whole lot to really manage the construction process throughout most of the Caribbean. You're at the mercy of the retailers.
Yeah, I'll just add in a little bit here. Ray's dropped the knowledge bombs as always, and a lot of people watching. I'm glad we have some people asking questions and making comments. The last time I was in Jamaica, the first thing I said to myself is I could live here because most of the business I do is remote and most of the payments I do are digital. So for me, that is certainly in my mind now, going a certain part of the year to Jamaica because the digital aspects is there. Everything's there. No, I have a good team and relatives down there that we know each other. We're very tight. So I think you not only have to have a resource infrastructure, you need to have a human infrastructure. I'm not going to use the word ecosystem because I'm tired of hearing that word. So I'm going to say infrastructure. A human and a resource infrastructure is so important. Evelyn, thank you so much. I know you got to hop off, but thank you so much for your comments and questions. So I 100% agree with Ray. You have to have people you can trust. When you're down there, and especially if you're not there, you definitely have to have it. You've got to be physically there, and it's, so I think it's a very, very key thing, because you don't know their area. They know the area best than anyone. So you be there, and you also learn. You just don't watch, and you learn the game, so to speak. It's very, very important. Ryan, anything you want to add?
If you can be there, sorry, if you can be there, I should shut the. I mean, if you don't have, somebody who, and for me, like I tell people when I'm in the Caribbean, I don't deal with a lot of people in the Caribbean who haven't had North American experience. But you don't understand me, what I'm trying to do. So if you haven't lived in North America, or studied in North America, or spent extensive time going back and forth in business in North America, I'm a little reluctant to deal with you in the Caribbean, because the way I function and the way you function is very, very different. I mean, not going to do business the same way. I mean, that may sound very harsh to some people, but it's worked for me. So if you live your entire life in some little village in the Caribbean, then I am not trying to engage you to do anything for me, because you don't have the lived experiences to understand what I'm trying to accomplish, right? And that's just my reality, and I make no apology for it. But everybody's different. So if you want to deal with folks who have never spent time in Toronto, Miami, or to do your business for you in the Caribbean, then you're setting yourself up for a major disaster. They don't understand what you're trying to do. Now, even the floor plan that we have here, that I was working on for this project I'm working on, they didn't understand what I was trying to do when I talked about the powder room and that kind of stuff. And I had a powder room just off the living area. They got one of the guys says, why you put a toilet outside your house, in the middle of your house? You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of comments you get. You know what I mean? Folks style their entire house from floor to ceiling, which to me is nonsense. That's not my taste in design, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't just give somebody free reign to build for you, because they will build for you based on their reality. So, there's the analogy I'm gonna make. The shoemaker's wife always got very poor shoes, right? So if you look at the way somebody lives their life, then they're going to deal with you based on their reality. So if you're living in a very simple home and you've had very limited experience building certain types of homes, then you can't build the home I am looking for, because it's not your reality. Now, today it's easier for local contractors, because you can go on YouTube and you can, but a lot of guys don't do that. I mean, the crew that I have here that I'm working the project with, they have, they don't even, I have to tell them, I want a flat ceiling, only recessed lights, and the things that they choose are what I consider gaudy, because people in many developing nations still see shiny stuff as being expensive, and that looks the way they dress. They've all got a t-shirt with somebody's name in front, whether it's Armani or Gucci. Like they're into that kind of stuff. A lot of the visual bullshit, right? Which means very, very different. I don't care to have any glassy chandelier in my house. It looks like cheap crap to me. It's a dust collector, right? But those things are still what a lot of people look for. So you've got to basically lay out your blueprint, and don't be influenced by people who haven't had your lived experience. I mean, we lived in nicely designed homes in North America. I mean, if you go into a condo in Toronto at 600 square feet, you see how they use the space very one bedroom, 1.5 bathroom condo at 600 square feet, and use that floor plan here. But you got 2 square feet in the Caribbean, and half the space is wasted. It's not livable space. So you have to sit down and use those North American floor plans and work to your what you need here in the Caribbean. I mean, you want higher ceilings, at least 10-foot ceilings. I mean, you can go up. There's no limitation of how you can your house in most parts of the Caribbean. So you build an 8-foot ceiling. You build a 9.5, 10-foot ceiling, nicely raised. You got vaulted parts to your ceiling, and it doesn't cost you anything more, right? Because a lot of the the biggest part of your project in North America is your labor costs. Electricians and plumbers, they charge major dollars in the Caribbean.
Yes.
Here in the Caribbean, your labor cost is minimal, right? So it allows you to really fine tune your project and do a lot of stuff that you couldn't build in Florida, in the Caribbean, because the labor cost is so low. When you look at what it costs you per hour to have laborers in the Caribbean, I'm talking skilled labor. I'm not talking guys just pushing a wheelbarrow. I'm talking skilled labor, significantly less. So once you understand that difference, how to manage that labor cost, then you can build what you want very, very effectively and very inexpensively.
Well, I think that is a good way to wrap up this epic conversation. Ryan, anything else you want to add?
No, I gotta bring some tips back to the family that's still building the house. Half the house isn't done. Actually, last report I did here, it's livable, so we'll see how far it is.
Wow.
But yes, appreciate you as always, Ray. Thanks for the insight.
Ray, thank you so much tuning in from Guyana. And every time I speak with Ray offline, he tells me it's beautiful down here, and I say, Ray, stop it. So, but that's a beautiful thing. As always, there's Ray's contact information, and I think the best way to get a hold of him right now is via email. Is the best way. But any of the numbers, if he's not available, Stefan is available. So, Ray, thank you so much. Pardon me, as always, taking time from your positive, productive schedule. Great. We had great engagement. Lots of people watching today. So you bring knowledge that they're looking for. Now we just want people to make a decision and take action. You too can be where Ray is if you plan it correctly. You don't have to be living in North America all year round.
Yeah, as part of your retirement plan. I mean, if you're close to 60 or you're close to retirement, then you want to start making that transition. And for those of you who listen who are younger, as I said in the earlier part of my conversation, I am starting to start this process of spending time in my 30s.
Same here.
Caught up in the lifestyle, North American cars and the house and the clothes, which is all nonsense. It doesn't mean anything when you look at the grand scheme of life. So if you're in your 30s and you've got a Caribbean connection, try and get a Caribbean passport. It's very important. Get a tax ID number. And when you land in the Caribbean, you come with your Caribbean passport. You can bring stuff back to the Caribbean. In some cases, it's two of everything. So you can bring back stuff tax-free if you plan to remigrate and you plan to live in a home. And if you don't plan to live in a home, once you've got a Caribbean passport, whether it's Jamaican, Guyanese, Barbadian, or wherever your parents are from, and even if you even weren't born in the Caribbean, you can get a Caribbean passport based on the birthright of your parents. So a lot of people say, "Well, I wasn't born in Caribbean." Well, your parents were, I presume your grandparents were.
Yep.
They're glad to get that passport. It's very, very easy to get it. And once you have that, I mean, there's limitations on the engine size of vehicles based on usage. But if you got a construction company, you can bring in your big trucks. You can bring in your SUVs and pickup trucks. In some parts of the Caribbean, they've waived the age limitation and engine size limitations. So you can bring anything in, and it's all duty free. So
there you go.
Like, understand what the options are. There is the CARICOM, which is the Caribbean community. I would suggest you visit their website, understand what your options are as a Caribbean, whether it's Caribbean lineage or Caribbean birthright. Visit the government websites of the individual islands, whether it's St. Lucia, Grenada, Dominica territories. But they're not all islands. Belize and Guyana aren't islands. Belize is in Central America and Guyana is in South America. But visit the websites, just put a Google, I want to repatriate to Guyana, or I want to build a home in Belize, or I want to buy land in St. Lucia. And then it will tell you exactly what the requirements are based on how you define yourself in terms of citizenship and nationality, and get to the process. As I said earlier, I've got experience in Jamaica, St. Lucia, Grenada, Barbados, Guyana. Did I miss anything? A couple of the other islands, but the small islands have their limitations in terms of what you can do with the property, but the bigger territories and countries have a lot of options. So don't ignore it. There's a huge demand for multifamilies in the Caribbean also. As the condos are being developed. I've got a colleague in St. Lucia building condos, and he's on his third project right now. his condo project. I've got a friend here doing a 4-story apartment project in Guyana. And so there's a lot of opportunity. So
all right,
don't spend that 2 weeks at a hotel spending $400 a night. Rent yourself a home and walk around the environment and try to navigate it as a local and not as a tourist or a foreigner. And look at what's going on around you.
Excellent. When, as Ray is saying, do your research. Start doing your research now. And if you have any questions, Ray can probably answer a lot of them. So there's no excuses if you say, I don't know what to do. You've been given at least a game plan even right now. Make a decision to take action. Ray, take care and have a good one as always. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure as usual.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right. And there is Ray's contact information. As always, dropping knowledge bombs. Naked Property with Osai says, this was an excellent show, gentlemen. Fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Does anything. So as we start wrapping up, because I know you have your bottom of the hour conversation coming up.
Just a quick recap. There is the Father's Appreciation event happening Sunday nights, and also there is the Caravana golf tournament happening Saturday during the day. So if anybody's interested, I will be there. So come check it out. And
are you golfing?
I'll be. I'm gonna try a couple swings. So we'll see.
Okay. And what's happening Saturday?
We have our youth entrepreneurship training, so we're getting into the pitch part of it. So always exciting seeing how they present themselves in a pitch environment. So good luck to the participants.
Good luck to the people who are going to be golfing, Ryan. Make sure you duck. Bend down low. Bend down low.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. As always, you can watch replays of the Morning Vibe on the Dr. Vibe Show, YouTube and Facebook, Afro Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, Ryan Oneil Knight, YouTube and LinkedIn. Let's see what else. And always, we got some housekeeping to do. Join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And also to advertise your product or service. This is the platform. Ray has been doing, Ray's company, the McMillan Group, has been doing it, I'm going to say at least for a year now. I'm going to just check up on that. It's been a while. Thank you for your support. Black businesses working together. Coming up again on this Monday's show, David Archer, who's a licensed psychotherapist, will be talking about his new book, Black Mountain Fight for the Future, and he'll be talking about mental health. He's a EMDR specialist. That's a form of mental health that is very, very, very good. Let's see. Got any other comments here? Let's do one more thing. Oh, Fitness IQ. She said this before I said it. If Ryan is at the golf tournament, duck. Well, you do. Well, you haven't golfed with him before. Well, maybe what we'll have to do is all of us get together and do a mini putt. There's no ducking need there. Just a lot of laughter.
I'm down.
All right. If you want to get in touch with me, there are all the different places: website, email, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show, Twitter at the Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at the Dr. Vibe Show. One last thing that, I'll save that. I was going to say something. I'm going to keep it quiet. There's a few other interesting potential guests to come up. And at the beginning, we talked about the causes for divorce, that survey done by the Forbes Group. I'm going to see if I can reach out to Dr. Alicia Watkins to come in on a Morning Vibe to talk about that, because she's been doing marriage counseling of Black couples for over 10 years. She's a licensed trauma therapist, and also she has her master's in social work, and she's also a tenured professor. All those things from a Black lens. So as always, we're going to see you on Monday. If you're watching this during the weekend, we appreciate every you. And remember this, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. We look forward to seeing you on Monday, and tell people about the show. Subscribe and share. Subscribe.
Yeah, if you're still here, make sure you like. That definitely helps with the algorithm.
Yeah, subscribe and share. And I just see someone just liked. Leslie McEwen gave Facebook love. Yes, Leslie, hopefully you can watch on Monday's show with David, because I've told him a lot about you. And again, I've shared some conversations of us on this platform. So I have a feeling he's going to be wanting to reach out to you. Okay, let me see. I'm going to just do any last comments here. Earl Anderson, great show as always. And Fitness IQ says always. All right, that's it. That's all. You know what time it is? Time to go. See ya.